In the last video, I went over a couple of ideas that I took from Thor Love and Thunder and thought I could expand on them in a way that might have made the film a little more interesting, taking it in a different route based on ideas presented and going with something different because honestly, Thor Love and Thunder was quite a piece of freaking trash, in my opinion. But they, of course, they had some ideas that could have maybe worked if they took them into a different route. So that's what I'm kind of doing right here. Check out the last video if you want to see that one. In this one, for this idea, I'm taking it a little bit a different route. I don't know if other people thought about this specifically, but in Thor Love and Thunder, there seemed to be somewhat of a focus on the weapons that everybody's using. However, they had them be more like a complete joke with the axe, with Stormbreaker, with Mjolnir the hammer, and there's the Necro sword, there's Zeus's Thunderbolt, which kind of like a McDonald's toy that they have in there. But I was thinking that, having all these different types of weapons with these different types of origins that in a way are fantastical origins, you could have had something, you could have had this be a little bit more strong element within the film. Let's start with what we know about Mjolnir, with the hammer. We know that it was forged with like the power of a star or something. It was forged by the dwarves, and it's really powerful. It's got an enchantment on it by Odin, whoever's worthy can wield this and have the power of Thor. Cool. It can fly. It's like a generator for the lightning power that he shoots out at people and all that. Got a thunder, boom, baby. And that weapon is pretty freaking awesome. And then you got Stormbreaker, where like the handle what came from a sacrifice from somebody for Thor to be able to even wield it at all, from Groot, which that's already kind of something there. One of his friends had to sacrifice his arm for him to be able to wield the axe there. And then he himself had to take on the blunt force of a star in order to get this baby jump started to be able to cut off Thanos' head, which to me, that would mean that his connection with that weapon would be a lot stronger than with the hammer, even though he used the hammer as his signature weapon for the longest time. But I would say that he'd have more of a reason to want Stormbreaker as his that's his primary weapon right here. In the movie Thor Love and Thunder, they make it like the axe is jealous of the hammer. It's like it's his ex weapon, and it's a full-on joke that could have been funny maybe once in the movie, but they just really kept it going throughout, which made it a little ridiculous in my opinion. But anyway, let's go over to Zeus's Thunderbolt. They didn't really give a history on how that happens. It's just, he has a Thunderbolt, but I think that maybe they could have had some type of interesting origin for that specific weapon. I assume that he could just cast thunder and lightning out of his hands and stuff too, but he seems to have it as a weapon essentially. Maybe that was forged through some storm planet that is just constant storms, and he had to go into the brunt of the weather and gather whatever he can and I don't know, construct a weapon somehow out of it, and he's got this Thunderbolt that is just packed with power, and it's very difficult for anybody to ever replicate this type of weapon, and that is his baby. That is something that is unique to him, that he made himself. That would be an interesting type of weapon to have. And then we can go over to the Necro sword that the God Butcher wields. And if we're going to have it be where it's the see, I feel like in the film they had it where somebody else was wielding this weapon. It's an ancient weapon and it has the power to kill gods. That's okay of an idea, but I feel like for our character of Gore, it would be more impactful if the sword was maybe made up of some of his followers. Because in the beginning of Thor Love and Thunder, they have it be where all of his people have suffered and died. He's basically the last one left. His daughters died, and the god that they would all worship and give all their faith to completely just shits in their face. He sucks, and he wants to kill this dude, and he does in the film right away. And I think it'd be interesting if maybe instead of having him be the sole survivor, it's like him and his family and maybe a couple of other survivors of some kind. You could still have his daughter be dead, I would say. But then, it's like they're all just in shock that their god is just this total douchebag and like this. And through some type of means, they sacrifice themselves to put their combined power into the sword that he can wield, that has literally got the power of his people in his hand, and that is able to give it enough of a boost to kill and slay this god here. Maybe the sword itself already existed as an ancient thing, as they already had it, but the life force from these people helped reignite it to work and be strong enough to kill this god here. That'd be how I would give like the origin of this weapon, or at least something like that. I have heard other ideas that maybe this belongs to like some ancient god, like a Leviathan creature, a Lovecraftian beast, that because he's able to have like shadow creatures come out from somewhere, just to come out of nowhere. He can have that happen. There's tentacle things that keep on wrapping around people. Maybe these are the old type of gods. I heard EFAP talking about this kind of idea where that would be interesting if that was in the sword, and if you destroy the sword or something, then the ancient gods are released and they have this resentment for the newer gods over here like Thor and Zeus and all them. That could be interesting as well. So this idea doesn't necessarily have to do with the story and what's going on with that. I'm not sure what the story would be with everything that I've gone over about the weapons, but in the movie there seemed to be at least a little bit of an acknowledgement of these different weapons and how interesting they could be. At least in my head, that's what I'm thinking the whole time. I'm like, wow, I mean, well, you're seeking these different weapons and they all have these different powers, these different origins. That'd be kind of interesting if there was more of an emphasis on like weapon creation and what makes powerful weapons in the Marvel universe, because what's stopping somebody else from making a powerful weapon? And there could be plenty of different reasons, and the weapons that you make, that become things of legend for the future. It would just be interesting to have that be a part of it, especially with Thor being part of the Viking era and Zeus part of Greek mythology. And you can have plenty of different aspects of history and mythology play with this, and alien technology. You can have so much to play with this based on the weapons themselves. Anyway, that was just something I thought of when I was watching this, that there could be some cool story that you could somehow make based around the weapons. But I don't know if they'd make that into a Thor movie. So that's all I got for today, and see you guys later.